Hey everyone, as you can see, I'm still on vacation, but I wanted to share this video with you because AOC tried to explain why the Democrats lost the election. Now, before I show the video, because I don't know how to share my video here, so I'm just gonna hold up my iPad and show you. But I think the Democrats lost for two main reasons. 80% to me was the economy. At the end of the day, cost of living went through the roof and they were the ones in charge. And I think there was a noticeable difference between when Trump was in versus Biden, and people voted primarily because their cost of living went up and the Democrats paid the price for that. The second reason, the 20%, I think, is the social policy. Some Democrats pushed some more one could consider extreme social policy. So LGBTQ in the classrooms, I'm not sure who, but from what I understand, some Democrats were in favor of those policies, as well as a lot of race-based discussions. I think Democrats generally are in favor of more identity politics. So I think 80% had to do with the economy, 20% had to do with social policy, personally. But the way in which AOC explains it, you know what, I'll let the video speak for itself. So here we go.
Let me give you my grand theory of what's going on right now.
The problem is you went too woke. Sorry, Kamala Harris was running with Liz Cheney at her side. She wasn't going quote-unquote woke.
If we had an election on November 5th and November 6th, you've got an answer.
Right.
Don't listen to those people.
I agreed.
Do not listen to those people.
Co-sign.
So I want to say that we should all have the humility of saying this is an ongoing learning process. However, there is something to be said about it doesn't matter that he's lying. He's saying that I'm fighting for you. In all of this debate that people are talking about with this woke thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's because we care about trans people and that's why.
And by the way, only Donald Trump cared about trans people because he was the one running $130 million worth of ads. The Harris campaign said nothing about this issue.
That's right. And listen, the ads, it's not to even deny the fact that these ads were effective in certain areas. What I think people are paying too much attention to is the first half of that ad, which says Kamala Harris is for they, them. Everyone's focusing on that. They're not focusing on the second half of that ad, where he said Donald Trump is for you.
Yeah.
And Democrats very often, in their messaging, they speak in terms and in concepts and not in the second person. I care about you. And political races are not about one candidate versus another candidate.
Okay, so I think that AOC's take is totally off there. And the reason why is I actually thought she was going to make a really important point about what the Democrats got wrong. Her main mistake in her analysis is I thought she was going to say Democrats focus too much on identity politics when moderates don't care or don't want to feel like they're being judged by those who support identity politics. Most moderates do not want to be viewed as transphobes. Most people don't want to be viewed as transphobes or as racists. But many of the policies, many of the ideologies that Democrats and liberals in general have pushed over the recent past have been much more identity politics based. And I thought AOC was going to go there and say, you know what, maybe we should temper identity politics and how we support it so much, because moderates don't want to be beaten over, nobody wants to be beaten over the head with these types of policies. Now, you might be asking, what specifically? Sometimes people ask me this, like, what specifically? Let's focus less on specifics. Let's talk general, and let's look at how things have changed over the past 4 to 5 years. I've noticed that more liberals and those liberal-minded folks push like diversity, equity, and inclusion in things like commercials, in things like representation in senior leadership positions. Now, I do 100%, if you follow my blog, openminds.substack.com, you know that I talk specifically about some of the experiences groups have had. You know, Black females in positions of power have talked about how they're overlooked and people undermine them. That's real, and that does happen. I've seen it with my own two eyes. However, I do think the general sense of DEI in the senior leadership has caused a lot of resentment from otherwise moderate people to say, listen, yes, we understand there's underrepresentation. There still is best person for the job, and that should be the number one consideration for most positions, for most all positions. And, you know, we are seeing more DEI in our schools, in our commercials. You know, there is something to be said of this dramatic shift away. Now, you can be of two minds of that. You can say, well, Christopher historically has not been given opportunities to be in commercials and on media, etc. And so this is our opportunity to highlight Christopher. But I think a lot of moderates are saying, okay, but it's not just that Christopher is brown. It's that he also has to be liberal. Because there are people who are black, who are women, who are brown, who are people of color, who are Jewish, who are Republican and conservative. But I think moderates are saying, hang on, like, there's an associated political lens that comes with someone from an underrepresented group that I think a lot of liberals have to reckon with, because there are so many immigrants here who don't support some of these policies. The second thing, again, LGBTQ, you know, here in Canada, some jobs ask for your sexual orientation and gender identity in the job ad. And, you know, a lot of liberals support that. And again, I do think 80% people care about the economy. They care about their job. They care about their ability to make ends meet. But it's that 20% that I wish AOC and others would have talked about in the assessment. I think that the liberals and Democrats have to ease off the gas a little bit on some of those policies. They just don't resonate and they don't work with moderates. Now, I'm not talking about Trump supporters. Let's face it, Kamala was never going to win them over, just as Trump was never going to win over the downtown Hollywood elites or whomever else supported Kamala. Like, her base, he was never going to touch. But what Trump did that Kamala didn't is he started appealing his message to moderates. He started saying, I'm not going to, you know, have LGBTQ in your child's classrooms. I'm not going to support this, you know, gender ideology stuff for children, you know? And I think that message resonated with moderates. I think that, you know, his message on electric vehicles, here's another example, you know, electric vehicles. He's like, I'm not going to put in mandates, you know, so that you have to buy electric. I'm going to give you the choice. You choose whether you want electric or not. Some of you think that it's best for you and your life, but, you know, you have to make that decision. You know, I'm here out in Las Vegas and I'm here, the cars rip down the strip and they've got the Speed Vegas laps. That stuff I don't think will ever go away. People love cars. They love gas cars. They love hybrid cars. There's a lot of electric cars I see too, but you have to give people that choice. And I think what's happening in California with electric vehicle mandates is telling everyone, regardless of your choice, you must buy electric. And I think Donald Trump is like, no, that's a moderate policy. I think the final thing is I think AOC and others are struggling with moderates rejecting wokeism. Before, I think they thought, oh, it's these extreme right-wing Trump supporters who hate DEI anyways. I think Democrats need to understand anti-wokeism is not anti-inclusion, anti-diversity, anti-equity. It isn't anti-climate change and it isn't anti-LGBTQ. It's none of those things. I recognize that there's underrepresented groups that need representation. I recognize there are people who are transgender, who face all types of barriers that a heterosexual person doesn't face. I recognize that for some people, the climate is a big concern for them and they want to make a choice of their vehicle to be associated with. I recognize all those things. I allow people the freedom to choose the car they want, to be who they want to be. I'm not going to judge you. If you want to become trans, great. But there has to be a process for that. There has to be age. You have to go see doctors, psychologists, gender identity. But just don't make it, we're going to push this on children. We're going to push this on families. And then that, I think, helps explain why Florida, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, a lot of the swing states went Republican. Because in addition to the economy, they saw that 20% social policy stuff. And they just saw, you know what? I know I'm not going to get that with Trump, but I might get that with Kamala. So that's my analysis. Love to know what you think. Do you agree with Kamala? Let me know. Sorry, do you agree with AOC and her assessment? Let me know in the comments below. Also, folks, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe. My name is Christopher. I host the Open Minds with Christopher Balkrin podcast. I'm trying to inject a level of moderation back into our discourse today. Thanks again, everyone. Take care, and I will definitely catch you in the next one.